they tried to actually send a probe. They sent a probe, and then that probe was telling that that probe somehow went into Germany, and in Germany people were speaking German, of course, and the probe actually took some samples for 1 year or so, and in that samples it found that these are the words, and it went back to the planet. It told that they concluded this thing, that people on earth speak German, and these are the words, and that language is called German. Now somebody else was there also in that same planet. He decided that let us try to verify the same experiment. So he sent another probe, and in that probe, that probe somehow went into France. Now in France, people speak in French. Now the words which were taken by that probe were French words, and it told that your people on earth speak French language, and these are the words. So then there was a third person who tried to tell that let me try to verify who of you is right, because both were experimental evidences. So in that case, another probe was sent, and that probe somehow went into US. Now in US people speak a language which is basically English, but most of the words are taken from either German or French. So what happened is that probe was already having a database that our people on earth speak either German or French. So it tried to identify that this is the word, so it is French, this is the word, so it is German. So it came out with a result that people on earth speak French and German together, and they speak them at the same time. So that was something which was not expected by them. So they told that let us call it French-German duality. Now we already know this thing, that people on earth speak many other languages. So if somehow that probe would have fell into say Gujarat, then their problem will be even larger. So the problem is that it was our own limitation, or it is our own limitation, that we are telling that everything has to be either wave-like or thing-like. So to explain that thing, this question was arised, that what are these things? Our already idea was that either everything has to be wave-like or everything has to be thing-like. So these particles had exhibited both wave and particle properties, and this duality was known as wave-particle duality, because it was just like French-German duality. We thought that everything either has to be wave or it has to be particle. So all these particles were exhibiting this thing. And another problem is that you cannot actually describe these things from your classical concepts. So this kind of word was coined. Now if we talk about waves, then what are the properties of waves? So basically you can say that at least one of the attributes should change with space or time. As such, there can be large number of definitions for waves, but this is a general thing. If you say talk about electromagnetic radiation, the direction and magnitude of electric as well as magnetic field vectors change. If you talk about sound waves, then compression and rarefaction or pressure of the medium particles change. If you talk about water waves, then it is basically the displacement of water particles which change with time and space. So the idea is that what if you are telling that matter waves are there, or your particles are behaving like waves, then what kind of waves are they? So the answer was this: they are basically probability waves, or they show that this is the probability of finding a particle and it changes with space and time in this particular way. Now then came Werner Heisenberg. He gave uncertainty principle in 1927. Now he told that there is a fundamental limit to the precision with which certain pairs of physical properties of a particle, such as position and momentum, can be known simultaneously. So if you say that delta x is the uncertainty, or you can say standard deviation in measurement of x, and if the delta p is the standard deviation in measurement of momentum, then their multiplication can be h cut by 2 or more than that. H cut is basically Planck constant divided by 2 pi. So this thing is basically Planck constant divided by 4 pi. This is what is the limitation. He told that you cannot go beyond this limit, or your measurements cannot be much better than this. So to understand that idea, let us have a simple experiment. Suppose you have got a rope which is say 50-meter long, and you are standing on left side of that thing, and in that probe you are trying to give a vertical wave. Suppose you try to wave it in this particular way, so you will be getting a pattern like this. This is just like you have taken a snap of that particular thing at a given moment, and that thing is shown here. Now if I ask some basic questions about this, suppose I tell that, okay, can you identify what is the wavelength in this particular case? You can easily say that, okay, I can identify, because the distances between the consecutive crests or consecutive troughs are basically the lambda. So yes, you know what is lambda in this particular case. But when you talk about, say, position, if I ask you where is the wave, then your answer will be the wave is everywhere. It is found everywhere on the rope, but it is not a kind of correct answer. You are not talking about a specific position in that case. So obviously you could not identify what is the position of the wave here. Now if I just give a small jerk, and suppose one jerk is given, and in that jerk the bump is propagating on the medium or on the rope in that case. So that is giving you a bump moving on the rope. Now if I take a snap at a particular moment, and if I ask you what is the wavelength of this thing, so obviously you cannot tell what is the wavelength, because it is only a small peak, and you cannot tell anything about that. But you can always tell where is it. So you can tell that, okay, it is somewhere here. Obviously there is some delta x associated with that, but I can tell that, okay, it is within certain finite region. So this answer you can give. So obviously in both the cases, if you see, this is an extreme where you have got lambda available, this is an extreme where you have got position available. So if you associate this lambda with this is basically true for all waves. If you associate this lambda according to de Broglie with momentum of a particle, then obviously this is a kind of explanation for your uncertainty principle also. Now you recall de Broglie. Now let us say, what are matter waves? So if you recall de Broglie, for a particle with a mass and velocity which is m and v, the associated de Broglie wave has a fixed wavelength, which is lambda is h by p, and that is basically h by mv. This probability wave, if you want to show, then it is basically this one single sine wave kind of thing, because you have got only one wavelength, and if you want to show that thing, then you are getting one particular wavelength only. So if you tell that, okay, this is a probability wave, then obviously the problem is that this is, if you say that, okay, this is the probability of finding the particle, then the particle is actually found everywhere. So when you talk about position, you cannot say that it can be everywhere. So this is a kind of unphysical explanation for matter waves if you just see the de Broglie expression. Now if you take uncertainty in position and momentum into consideration, there can be a range of wavelengths associated with a moving particle. For example, that you have got some delta p associated with a particle when momentum uncertainty is there. So delta p is there, that means you have got two values for p, means at both the ends. And when you talk about that delta p, then you can have large number of wavelengths associated with a single particle. So you can always say that for any two numbers, that between those two numbers you can have infinite other numbers possible. So there can be infinite number of wavelengths which are possible with that particle, or which can be associated with that particle. So all these wavelengths superimposed at one point in space at a given time gives the final probability wave function of a particle. So basically you cannot talk about only one wavelength when you are talking about a particle. You have to take into consideration the uncertainty also. So you will be telling that the particle is having a range of wavelengths associated with that, and superimposition of all those wavelengths at one point is going to give you the position of the particle or probability of finding the particle. Now, if you really understand what is the superposition, this is the basic idea about the superposition. This is one wave, this is the other wave, and their frequencies are changing by a small amount. So, if you add them together or if you superimpose them at one point, you are going to have this kind of thing. Basically, this is nothing but something known as amplitude modulation. You might have seen this thing in our radio stations, that you have got AF, FM, AM. So, FM is basically frequency modulation, this is amplitude modulation. So, if you add two waves, it gives you something like this. So, if you add multiple number of waves, it could give you a wave which is like this. Basically, this is a wave propagating in the medium. So, your particle is somewhere in between this thing and it is propagating in the medium. Now, the question is that when you superimpose large numbers, you are getting this thing, then what will you call all those other waves which were actually comprising or which were making these waves? So, these are the basic definitions. Those waves which actually made this whole stuff, they are all known as phase waves, and they are, you can see here that there are so many different frequencies available, and each wave can have its own separate velocity. That velocity is known as phase velocity. Now, when you talk about the superposition of all those things and when you get the final thing, it gives this particular shape, and this is nothing but the particle itself or the wave packet, because it is basically packet of this many waves. So, these wave packets are these waves are giving you this wave packet, and this wave packet is actually telling you that particle is somewhere in between this thing. So, it is basically, if you talk about the velocity of this particular packet, then it is nothing but the velocity of the particle only, and there are two different words which people use. That one is phase waves or phase velocity, which is velocity associated with the phase waves, and there is group velocity, which is velocity of this wave group or wave packet, and basically that is nothing but the particle velocity itself. Now, when you talk about matter waves, you just consider these two extreme conditions for a wave packet. When I say, you just recall the example which we discussed in case of that string. If you see here, you cannot talk about the wavelength, because suppose that your particle is already moving with a particular momentum, then there will be some wavelength associated with that or some range of wavelengths associated with that. So, if you see here, you cannot actually talk about the wavelength part here. So, you cannot determine what is the position if your wave function is shrink so much. That means, if I shrink delta x to a great extent, I cannot actually tell that what will be the momentum. Similarly, here you have got a pulse on the string, but it is actually spreading the delta x. That means, there is a large distance which is telling that okay, your particle is somewhere between these 2 points, and in that case you can tell something about the momentum also. So, the superposition thing which we got in the earlier slide is actually the wave function which is representing your particle. So, when you define the wave function, mathematical expression for wave function or wave group which is associated with the particle is actually known as the wave function. This is a common word for all people who use quantum mechanics, and it is generally denoted by a Greek letter or Greek symbol which is psi, and psi star psi. Basically, psi star means complex conjugate of psi. Your wave function actually can be a imaginary number also, it can have imaginary part also. So, if you talk about the complex conjugate, if you replace all I by minus I, then you are getting the complex conjugate. So, multiplication of those things together is going to give you something known as psi square, which is basically the probability. That means, your wave function does not directly give you the probability. The square of the wave function, or you can say the multiplication of complex conjugate of the wave function with the wave function itself, is going to give you the probability of finding the particle at a particular position x. Now, there was a Copenhagen interpretation of the wave function, or for the quantum mechanics in general, that it told that quantum mechanics does not yield a description of an objective reality, but deals only with the probabilities of observing or measuring various aspects of energy quanta, entities which fit neither the classical ideas of particles nor the classical ideas of waves. That means your quantum mechanics is not actually measuring where is the particle, it is just telling you that at this particular moment the particle's probability of to be found at that point is this much. It can only talk about the probabilities, it cannot certainly tell that this is the position. So that was the Copenhagen interpretation. Later on one more interpretation was also added, but probably that we will see in the later part. Then came Erwin Schrödinger. Now Schrödinger formulated the wave equation for matter waves. He told that analogous to F equal to ma of Newtonian mechanics, you can have another equation which he gave a name of himself, Schrödinger equation. He told that okay, your Newtonian mechanics is basically going to give you or it will basically start with F is equal to ma. So you don't know from where F equal to ma can be derived. It is a direct equation for us. So similarly, your Schrödinger equation also cannot be derived from any basic physical law, but there are various ways to arrive at that equation. So we will try to understand how to arrive at that equation. Now general wave equation is given in this form. Your general wave equation looks like this: del square psi by del psi xt means your wave function is basically a function of position as well as time. And when you talk about the wave function, you have actually I have written here the general wave equation in one dimension. Okay. So on the left hand side you have got second order derivative or partial derivative with respect to space, and on this side you have got second order partial differentiation with respect to time. Now here this x is basically or this v is basically the velocity of the wave. So when we tell that okay, our particles are behaving like waves, then obviously we have to assign them the velocity which are related to velocities of some waves. So the standard solution for a wave which is moving in positive x direction is given in this particular form, where psi 0 is basically the amplitude of the function or of the wave. This k is basically something known as the wave number or wave vector sometimes. This x is the position, omega is angular frequency, t is time. Now using some basic definitions which were already previously